Hello everyone. Before we start with the video, I want to say a couple of things. I am not a financial planner nor a financial advisor. I'm not FCA approved. I'm not approved by any institution that allows me to give financial advices. Nothing mentioned in the video should be considered as an investment advice nor guidance. Everything showed, talked, and explained is for pure and only educational purposes. The risk is in your own hands, and I always recommend trading on them accounts as that's literally the only way to not lose money in this market. Enjoy the video. Hello guys, good morning. Today is Monday, July 12th. I'm going to be talking about today's results, today's trades, mistakes that were done, and the things that we actually did right. And we'll begin with the beginning of the day. Today I got up at around 6. Well, I woke up around 6. And I wake up to basically this structure. This is 6 a.m. right here. And the first thing that I encounter is that we have a flip. Now I have a break. I placed an entry here. I realized that we were basically creating somewhat of a structure here. The price was failing to break. Then I realized this week that we had back here. So I decided that this could have been interpreted as liquidity, as somewhat of an area that basically could be acting as liquidity, and stop loss just above this area, and basically liquidity, right? I don't really want to get into details as the concepts and the things about liquidity are basically explained on the big video that should be coming up tomorrow, unless something goes wrong again. And yeah, so I realized that this was liquidity. I was aware of this trade before that liquidity was formed, as we have a type 2 scenario where we have just a continuation, right? So we have a break. This is the break. That break was caused by this whole range. That range is mitigated. Then we have another break, and that break basically has an extreme, and that order block comes from mitigation. So that's a setup number 2 continuation type of setup, right? So I wasn't really convinced on taking a trade just like that. But when we had created liquidity, I thought that there was nothing else to basically ask for in this trade. So as you can see, trade worked out amazingly. We had a take profit. I did close it a little early, as we basically got to the 1% target earlier than basically a take profit. So yeah, that worked out pretty well. Then I basically didn't watch the charts for a little, plus it did do a pretty big movement. I did think about, so I actually started using higher time frames, not as thoroughly as you might think, but I basically started using them, and I did think about aiming towards this area, towards the 1 hour order block that we had, which would have worked out amazingly, right? That would have been a 1 to an 11th. But basically, I decided not to do that. I went for the 5 hour, as me using the higher time frames is not actually something usual, sorry. So I decided to just continue this way. Maybe I'll backtest, maybe I'll continue to practice stuff like this. And if I see that it's working for me, then sure, I'll do something like that. So next area that I spot is this this range that we have up here. That range also took all of the liquidity that we have here, right? So all of that is liquidity that was taken by this range. Then it broke this structure, and yeah, just that structure. I don't think it broke anything else than that. So basically, just with that, I thought that that was a pretty good range. I drew it, but I wasn't really thrilled to take that trade. I do like the fact that price was accelerating a lot when getting into this range, but then started to slow down and then showed some strength to the downside. We do have this range later that does work out. So yeah, and that range also causes a break. We do have a flip, sorry. We could have gone for this range if we would have been considering, if we would have basically been considering the fact that this is the range just before the flip. But I don't know, I thought that one made more sense. And as you can see, worked out. I was not trading this any either. Then we break the lows. I did say that I thought that price could easily break the lows, as we, let me see here. So another thing I talk about in the video, the range below this one, blah blah blah. Um, okay, here. So I don't like that it barely tapped the area and started to move higher, so I'm expecting it to break the low it created and then maybe go higher. That's what I basically said on Telegram, which is when this low was created. That low actually generated a pretty good entry here, as you can see. I was not thinking that. That does have a little bit of liquidity, but still nothing. I mean, I don't know, I just didn't like it completely. Then we get a pretty good impulse. We do have a flip, so we could have gone for this, but I was still waiting for that low to be broken, which is what happens later. Then we create some liquidity. I was interested in this area as to the fact that we basically were continuating, right? We had continuations, and when it created liquidity, and we could have even considered this high, so we have here as liquidity, price basically just comes up, takes that liquidity, and falls, right? The only area that I was actually scared for was this one, that as you can see, price just plummeted through. And basically when price started to reject this area, I decided to close the trade. I thought about taking a risk entry and just market execute this area to get a buy. And that buy could have been all the way up to this what we have up here. And basically, oh, we're actually, so look at this. This is an actual live example. I don't know if this will work or anything, but we do have liquidity there. This one bottom, that's liquidity. The area, and oh god, look at this trade. Actually, I missed out on this as I wasn't actually paying that much attention to charts anymore. And basically this area takes liquidity, then creates liquidity. It doesn't completely mitigate the order block. Present pushes higher, comes back, mitigates that liquidity by very little. I don't know if I would have gone for the 25 or the 50. And now it's pushing higher. I'm not saying that it'll continue to actually push higher, but yeah, it does look really good. It's a shame. I want to believe that I would have taken this trade, but to be honest, I wasn't paying attention to the chart, so I can't really say for sure if I would have taken that. So basically, I wanted to market execute this, but to be honest, I said, okay, so to take profits in a day, that's actually when I have to take profits, I just leave the charts, right? So I wasn't really interested on taking another trade. That was more than enough for me, to be honest. And yeah, after that, I actually left home for a little bit. Then I came back. I was analyzing this as a continuation pattern again. As you can see, we have a pause, we have a break, price comes back, mitigates that pause. This will be a risk entry, but then we have another break, and that's the entry that I was looking for. I drew it, I thought about it, I didn't entirely like it. I looked away for a couple of minutes, and when I came back, it basically just was already on this candle, which is when I actually sent the screenshot right here, right? So, and this trade was pretty similar to the pattern that we had on Friday, which is this one. And actually the trade that I was just showing that is basically kind of working right now is very similar to this. The structure that we have right here, as you can see, we have liquidity, an area, an order block basically takes that liquidity, then we have a break of structure, comes back down, creates liquidity, mitigates that liquidity, mitigates the order block, and continues to push higher, right? So that same pattern is what we are basically watching right here. We have the liquidity, the area that took the liquidity, the area that took the liquidity, liquidity inside of the range. Price comes back, has mitigated that range. We do have a flip here, as you can see, that's a flip, and we didn't have that break. So if I was looking for a sell right now, it will be inside of this candle. Probably keep in mind that that high, that wick. But yeah, mostly this buy looks pretty promising, not gonna lie. But yeah, it's just a shame that I just didn't see it. But it is what it is. So where were we? Here. So type of continuation, S2 again. Basically that hit target. Could have gone for a little bit higher, because I did have this range that took liquidity here. I had it drawn, so I was like, okay, so we could actually aim for that, which was a little bit more than 6R. So it's not that different, so I wasn't really interested into, I wouldn't have been interested into risking the fact that, oh, my voice is actually a little low. My bad on that. So basically, let me higher my volume just a tiny bit. There we go. So basically, yeah, if I would have actually been trading this, I would have closed at the 5 hour. I wouldn't have risked it for just an extra hour, to be honest, because that extra hour, let's say price actually decided not to get to the target and just react from here, ranged, and then went lower, and that would have been a little bit of a dumb loss. But yeah, targets are targets, so that could have been a good trade, to be honest. This was kind of retracing. I don't know what it's doing right now. So yeah, that's basically today. I got two really good trades. I missed out on this buy, which I would have aimed for the 5 hour, or maybe this major structure, which we could have considered as potential continuation trade, right? We could have thought that price was going to respect this area and then fall again, but the area that we had was pretty clean, and it's actually correlative to the move that we have been having. We have daily order block, a lot of breaks, as you can see, comes back, mitigates, pushes higher. We have a pause there before this break, price basically comes back to that, and that's where we are basically right now. So yeah, as I said, the target could have been this one, could have been this one. It depends on how how do you say this? It depends on um, how much risk do you want to take and stuff. And yeah, it's just as simple as that. This trade, to be honest, I'm pretty sure it would have actually missed me with the spreads, as it barely hits the 25. But yeah, so I think that's basically all. Today was a pretty good day. There are a lot of concepts such as liquidity and the type of setups that I trade that I talk about in the video that actually worked out amazingly today, worked out to the perfection. And basically, yeah, I feel really sad that I wasn't able to post the video for today, for not for today, but for yesterday. So you were able to learn those, well, not entirely learn those things, but to basically see them work in a live market, right? But yeah, it is what it is. Hopefully everything works out great, and basically just, you know, it I can post it tomorrow. But yeah, I guess time will say. So that's all that I wanted to talk about. I hope you learned something. Make sure to leave some commentaries, to share the video, to leave a like. Any questions that you leave on the commentaries, I will be answering them if they're good questions, of course. But yeah, that's all, guys.